I was standing at the altar, looking at the man I loved, when the church doors slammed open. My sister walked in with a lawyer. She hadn't spoken to me in 6 years, but apparently, she'd saved her words for the one day I thought I was finally free. My name is Emma, and for most of my life I was the problem child. Not because I did anything wrong, but because my younger sister Claire decided I was in her way. She was 14 when it started, I was 17. Our parents had always favored her. She was charming, outgoing. The kind of kid who could cry on command and make you feel like the villain. I was quiet. I studied hard. I worked 2 jobs to pay for community college, because our parents said they couldn't afford to help me. Then turned around and bought Claire the 15,000 car for her birthday. But I didn't complain. I thought if I kept my head down, things would balance out. I was wrong. When I was 19, I asked my dad if there was any savings set aside for my education. He looked uncomfortable. Then he told me they'd used it. I asked what for. Claire's dance program. She was really talented, he said. He was sure I'd understand. The program cost 12,000. My college fund had been 18,000. Money my grandparents left specifically for me. I didn't yell, I just asked what happened to the rest. He said they thought I'd figure it out. I always did. That's when I realized I wasn't part of the plan anymore. A year later, my mom called me. They were throwing Claire a surprise 16th birthday party. Just close family. She thought it'd be better if I didn't come. I asked why. She said Claire didn't feel comfortable around me. That I made her feel bad about herself. I had barely spoken to Claire in months. I asked what I'd done. My mom sighed and told me not everything was about what I did. Sometimes it's about how people feel. Couldn't I just respect that? I wasn't invited to my own sister's birthday. But I saw the photos later. Over 40 people were there. I was the only one excluded. When I turned 21, I got a text from my dad. They were starting a family group chat. It'd make it easier to stay connected. I said that sounded great. 2 weeks later, I realized I wasn't in it. I asked my mom. She said Claire thought it'd be less drama if it was just the 3 of them. Less drama. I was the drama. I hadn't fought with anyone. I hadn't caused a scene. I just existed, and apparently, that was too much. How do you fight someone who's made you the villain without ever accusing you of anything specific? The final blow came when I was 23. I was living 2 hours away, working full-time, finally building something for myself. My mom called. I thought maybe she wanted to check in. Instead, she said they'd been talking. They thought it was best if I didn't come home anymore. I asked what she meant. Claire was getting serious with her boyfriend. She was talking about getting engaged. She wanted family events to feel peaceful. And honestly, every time I was there, she got anxious. I asked if they were seriously choosing her comfort over having me in their lives. My mom's voice went cold. They were choosing what's best for the family. If I cared about them, I'd understand. Then she said the part I'll never forget. Don't come home. Your sister doesn't want you here. I hung up. I didn't cry, I didn't beg. I just stopped. I blocked their numbers. I deleted the photos. I moved on. For 6 years I didn't hear from them. Not on my birthday. Not on holidays. Not when I graduated with my bachelor's degree. Nothing. Then I met Daniel. He was kind. He was steady. He didn't come from a broken family. He came from one that actually showed up for each other. When he proposed, I said yes. We planned a small wedding. 50 people. Nothing extravagant. Just people who actually loved me. I didn't invite my parents or Claire. I didn't even tell them. But someone did. 2 weeks before the wedding, I got an email. The subject line said legal notice regarding family estate. It was from a lawyer named Richard Coleman. He represented Claire. The email said that Claire was entitled to equal participation in any family events I hosted, and that excluding her from my wedding violated a verbal agreement made when our grandmother passed. I read it 3 times. There was no agreement. There was no estate clause. Our grandmother had left me a small savings bond, 8,000, but that was it. This was a bluff. But it told me something important. Claire knew about the wedding. And she was planning something. I called the lawyer's office. I didn't yell. I just said I'd like to understand what agreement he was referring to. He hesitated. Then he said my sister claimed that my grandmother's bond was meant to be split between us both, and that I'd withheld her share for years. I asked if he had documentation. He didn't. I told him I had the bond paperwork with my name only, and that if he continued to threaten me on false premises, I'd file a harassment complaint. He hung up. But I wasn't done. I called my grandmother's estate attorney, a woman named Ms. Henley, who'd handled everything when Grandma died. I asked her if there was any record of Claire being mentioned in the bond. She said no. My grandmother was very clear. That bond was for me. She even wrote a note that said Emma will need this more than the others. I asked if she still had the note. She did. I asked her to send me a certified copy. She did it that day. The wedding day came. I was calm. Daniel knew what might happen, and we'd hired security just in case. But I didn't think they'd actually show. I was wrong. Halfway through the ceremony, right before the vows, the church doors opened. Claire walked in. My parents were behind her. and next to her was the lawyer. The officiant stopped. Everyone turned. Claire's voice rang out. She was sorry to interrupt, but the wedding couldn't continue until they settled a family matter. I didn't move. I looked at her and asked what family matter. She held up a folder. I'd stolen 80,000 from her. That bond was supposed to be theirs. She was filing a claim. The room went silent. I smiled. I reached into my bouquet. I'd tucked an envelope there that morning. I pulled it out. I walked down the aisle. I handed it to the lawyer. I told him to read it. He opened it. His face went pale. Claire grabbed it from him. She read the note aloud without thinking. To Emma, this bond is yours alone. You've always been the one who carried more than you should. Use this to build something they can't take from you. Love, Grandma. The room stayed silent. Claire's face crumpled. She started to say Grandma didn't mean it. I cut her off. She did mean it, and Claire knew that. She just thought I wouldn't fight back. My mom stepped forward. They just wanted to be included. I looked at her. They'd banned me for 6 years. They told me not to come home. They erased me because it was easier than telling Claire no. My dad tried. He thought I'd moved on. I had moved on. That's why they weren't in my life anymore. I turned to the security guard. I asked him to please escort them out. Claire tried to argue. The lawyer backed toward the door. My parents just stood there frozen. And then they left. The ceremony continued. I married Daniel in front of 50 people who actually loved me. No one mentioned what happened. They didn't need to. A week later, Claire sent me a text. She was sorry. She just wanted to be part of my life again. I didn't respond, because the truth is, she didn't want to be part of my life. She wanted to control it. And I'm done letting people who erased me pretend they deserve a second chance, just because it's convenient. Some families are built on love. Others are built on who's willing to disappear. I'm not disappearing.